Alright, let's dive right in and see what this code is all about. You can find the code in the description to follow along. So this block of text here just says you publish this add-on under the terms of general public license. So if you plan to share your add-ons online, they have to have this text here, alright? If you don't have such a plan, it doesn't matter, you can just delete it. And if you wonder why would you need to add this text in the first place, there's a link in the description that explains it, so you can check that out. This BL info section is like the ID card of your add-on, the name of your add-on, your name, description of your add-on, which Blender version is compatible with, version of your add-on, etc. These are the details we see here when we install an add-on, alright? Next, we have this import bpy line here. I think bpy stands for Blender Python. Think of bpy as a waiter in a restaurant. We tell the waiter what we want and they relay it to the kitchen for us. We don't need to know how the kitchen works internally, right? And like ordering food at a restaurant, we just give instructions through bpy and Blender does the cooking for us, alright? Or you can think of bpy as our translator with Blender. We speak to bpy with our commands and it translates them for Blender to understand. Then Blender executes our instructions. That's why we import bpy here, because we'll use it throughout the script to communicate with Blender. If this feels a bit confusing now, don't worry, it will get clearer as we go. Let's move on with this operator code. Operators are the heart of actions in Blender. They let you perform specific tasks, perfect for automating stuff in Blender. And this is how you create an operator. You can think of this class as the container for our operator, alright? And this is the name of our container. You can call it whatever you want, but if you want to stick to Blender's naming convention, start with a category. In this case, since we are adding a cube to the scene in object mode, object seems like a reasonable choice. Next comes OT for operator type, followed by a name describing the operator's function. And here, we are simply telling bpy, hey, make sure Blender understands that this is an operator, alright? This text in quotes defines the operator's tooltip. Let's change this to, add the cube for sure, and save it. And if I hover over the operator, yeah, it's this sentence right here, alright? Cool, now you know how to write a tooltip. Moving on, these lines define our operator's properties similar to this BL info section. BL ID name is the unique identifier of the operator. Again, you can name it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be in this format. And this was the name of our container, right? They have different use cases and we'll see that later in the code. BL label is the button text. Like if I change this, you'll see it changes here as well. Cool. And here with this register undo, we allow users to undo the cube creation with Ctrl-Z. Next, we have this poll function, which acts like a gatekeeper for our operator, meaning it ensures the operator is only available if a certain condition is met. For example, here we say make this operator available only if we are in object mode. Like if I switch to edit mode, can I use it anymore, right? And let's see how we do that. So in this poll function, we have access to context. This context object contains a wide range of attributes that provide information about the current scene, active object, selected bones on your character, user interface elements, and so on. Let's say you are building an add-on for character animation, alright? You may want to use context to get the selected bone, right? Like so, and add a keyframe to it using the keyframe insert method. You can also specify which frame to add that keyframe to, like frame equals to 25, I don't know. So context is definitely one of your best friends in add-on development. Let me delete this line first. Alright, here we are using context to get Blender's current mode and check if it's equal to object mode using a double equal sign. This expression gives us a true or false value because of this double equal sign, alright? And if we return true here, it means our operator will be available. If it's false, the button will be grayed out. That's why we can't use it in edit mode, because this becomes false in edit mode, right? I hope that makes sense. Okay, don't forget to add this add class method keyword above your poll function, alright? It's gotta be there, that's how it's written. And one final note, if you don't want to bother with the poll function, you can just write true here, which makes the operator available all the time, or feel free to delete it altogether. I mean, you don't have to have it, alright? Let's move on with the execute function where the real magic happens. So when you click the operator button, this execute function gets triggered, alright? And inside this function, first, this line tells Blender to add a cube to the scene. After that, this line signals to Blender that, hey, we're done here, it's all good. That's the basic flow, alright? You do some stuff, whether it's automating a couple of things or whatever you need, and at the end of all that, you tell Blender you're finished. Right now, we're just adding a default cube. Actually, we can have more control over it by using some parameters here. We can say size equals 10 to make it bigger, or we can define its location with X, Y, and Z values, right? But what if we want it to be red? Can we just say color equals red here? Let's see. I'm gonna save it and use the operator now. And we'll get an error. That's just Blender's way of saying we don't do that here, right? Actually, if you hover over this primitive cube add method, you'll see all the parameters available, like enter edit mode, rotation, scale, etc. This is the beauty of using VS Code with the fake BPy module. Anyways, no color parameter here. That's why we are getting an error, right? But we know we can have a red cube, right? I mean, I can go to Material tab, create a new material, and change the viewport color to red. And we have a red cube. Easy. Well, we can do all this in Python too. First, we need to create a new slot. While clicking new here, does this automatically. Our code needs to explicitly tell Blender to create one. Alright. Next, we create a new material. We can call it red or whatever. And set its diffuse color using RGB and alpha values here. Alright. Finally, we assign this material to the active object. Active object means the currently selected object in the scene. I'm gonna save it. And now we'll have a red cube every time we add one. Cool. You might be wondering like, how on earth I'm gonna know all this stuff, man? I have no idea what to write. I don't know how to start in this type of situations. Well, that's a valid concern, and don't worry, we'll address that in the last part of this series. For now, let's just focus on understanding the overall flow. For example, we can create a new operator and put this code in its execute function. Gonna save it. Now we can have a separate button to turn cubes red. Let's try that. Add cube, make it red. Cool. Actually, let's not stop there and create another operator for deleting the cube. I'm gonna save it. Now we can create a cube, make it red, and delete it with our add-on. Cool. But there is a small catch with this code. It creates a new red material every time we use the operator. Not super eco-friendly for our Blender world, so let's fix that. So we can check for an existing red material first, right? If it's there, we can use it instead of creating a new one every time. If there is no red material, we create one and use it. Okay, I'm gonna save it. Now it won't create a new red material because there is already one, alright? And that's the beauty of coding. You'll learn by doing, fixing little hiccups along the way. I mean, nobody gets hurt when you make a mistake, except maybe our virtual cubes. So it's like the ultimate learning playground, right? Can we improve this code further? Oh, hell yeah. But I think it's time to shift gears. So in the next video, we'll tackle how to create a panel, the UI for our add-on in Blender's interface, alright? Okay, if you find something valuable here, leave a like, let me know, and hit me with your questions in the comments. I'll be happy to help, and see you soon.